Hi guys, let's mount the rudder and the elevator, and I've messed up the sequence a little bit. In the last video you already saw it mounted, but doesn't matter. So the first thing that we have to do is we have to cut open this bit, and then this little wooden part is going to close that gap again. I guess there are different methods to do this. You could use a saw or something. I'm going to use this Dremel tool. I think that works quite nicely. All right, we've opened it up, and later, after we have put the elevator in, this wooden part will be fit into there. It's a little bit too large, so we could open it wider, or we could narrow that piece of wood. Okay, let's test fit the elevator, and it works, but it doesn't really. It's too narrow. So let's open up that gap a little more. I want to work carefully, step by step. I don't want to take too much away, because that will take away stability, or I might want to take away a little bit from there as well. We'll see. Okay, let's check it, and looking good. So let's take the control surface and see if it has free movement. Yep, it's all good. All right. So then the next step is to make the hinges. The slots for the hinges are already pre-cut, but I just want to open them up a little wider. Okay, the hinges fit nicely. And what I do now, I don't know if that's my trick or where I read it, but I drill holes right in the center of the slots, and then I can use a narrow tip for the CA and put it right in there so the CA will distribute nicely. Now take the hinges and stick them in about halfway. Now I take CA with that thin tip and apply the CA. Do it on both sides because the hinges are not perforated. After the CA has cured, we can mount the control surface now and make sure that those gaps on the right and on the left are even. Now deflect the elevator to the large throws that you want to have later, and you're pulling out the hinges a little bit again, but that's what you want. You want those large movements. And then apply CA on both sides again. What we want to do now is we want to keep flexing the elevator while the CA is curing, and that way make sure that it moves freely. And here you go, we have a nice elevator. Now it seems to be important for the airflow or for the aerodynamics of the elevator, especially in 3D movements, that we close this gap. And for that we have a bit of foil like so, that we will iron into the gap like so. You might or might not know that there is a protective film on the back of that heat shrink, and have you ever wondered how you get that off? I have tried with a knife, I've tried to peel it off, can never find the beginning. So I'll show you a trick. Just take normal tape, just 2 pieces of normal painter's tape, for example. Stick one on the one side and one on the other side. And now just take them apart, and I don't know if you can see that well, but here it is. Very easy. Now I used some tape to keep the full deflection while I iron that bit on. Now bend it a little in the middle and apply it, and then we can just fix it with a little ironing spot right there. And then on the other side, that's important because otherwise it's going to start shrinking. And now a bit of a wooden tool, and I can iron it on. It's maybe a bit hot. Don't make it too hot or you have a hole. And there it is. Now I don't want to widen that gap now, but rather make this piece a little narrower. And for that I use a disc sander. And there, it fits perfectly. Now, I've taken some measurements, and what I did is I measured from one corner of the elevator to the front here, and then from here to the other corner, and these should be equal. It should be even. And when I stick the elevator in like that, they are absolutely even, so that's great. I don't have to measure again. Now again, before I use epoxy, I'm going to use this tape here to protect the surfaces, and that way I can easily work with epoxy and later take the tape off and have a very clean joint. I suppose you could use CA, but I think that's a bit messy. You get stuck too quickly, and then you can't adjust it. So I use epoxy, but really not very much at all. After all, the strength doesn't come from the epoxy, but it comes from the way the elevator is fit snug into the fuselage. Now check the right angle from behind. And also from the top, you might want to take measurements, but that's good. While the epoxy is still liquid, I'm taking the tapes off at a 45-degree angle like so. I used the rest of the epoxy to fit the little wooden part, and there you can see it's a perfect clean joint. And that's it for today, folks. As always, subscribe, look at the other videos, stay tuned, and give me feedback. Thanks, bye.